What's up, everybody? It's Chad. I'm back again with another episode of Ask Chad Grassy Logic. I'm here with my buddy Miggy from Cannabis Legalization News. Thank you so much for joining me today, man. It's an honor to have you on.
Oh, man, back at you. Thanks for having me on. This is a pleasure to... I'm actually just starting to take this thing serious, the whole media being involved in an industry thing. Like, I never took it as serious before.
You know, yeah, there is a little bit of a difference of how you're taking it. I really loved how your laid backness was with it, but I'm glad that you're taking it more serious because, you know, I think you've realized that you are a prominent figure when it comes to the media and stuff now.
Yeah, that's the weird part, man. It's very meta.
100%, man. You know, and I'm glad that you came on my show. It's a lot smaller, but I focus on New Mexico and stuff. And I'm glad that you guys, you focus on the national stuff. Sometimes even I go to your guys' network to kind of figure out what's going on with the new stuff. So it's always great to kind of just back and forth things. There's not many of us in the cannabis media.
Well, and also it's about the conversation you're trying to hold, right? Like Tom, my partner Tom, he has a business. He's been in the industry for a while, like consulting and all that stuff. I've been advocating this whole time, like I back all the way to Prop 215, California, right? Like I helped get signature for that.
Yeah.
I had long hair in my back. It wasn't on my back. Like life was different back then.
Yeah, it was a totally different time. But before we get more into Miggy, let me thank my sponsors really quick. I want to thank Monster House, where we're not at right now, usually where we are. I know they miss us. And Cinder Cannabis. Thank you both for your contributions to the show. With that, makes the show a little bit better. We get cooler equipment. We get more ideas, and the show goes on for longer. So thank you so much. And let's get back into the show. So Miggy, yeah, let's talk about you a little bit more, man. That's something I've been wanting to kind of touch base is, get the audience to know who you are, because we get the news and everything, but, let's figure out, what you've done over the years. Cause I'm learning some new stuff that's actually really cool. I had no clue that you go back to the 215 days. So yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, but well, I mean, like it's always been a topic of my life. Thinking about this interview and talking to you and trying to like say who I am in the goddamn space. First off, it's true what they say when it comes to like one being a minority or being a woman, and you have to work harder in certain fields or whatever, right? Like weed is not my day job. I mean, a long time ago, I used to sell weed, and and I had visions of it.
Yeah.
But it's not what I do, and so the only thing I could do really while having a family and do shit is like activism, right? Try and fight for people who are locked up. Try and change the damn conversation and influence our fucking America, right? We are. I mean, that's why we joined. Well, actually, I joined the service originally for a job.
Yeah.
And then after 9/11, it became all like patriotic, let's go kill somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thank you for your service, by the way, Miggy. What branch were you?
I was Navy.
Navy? Oh, okay, Army. So we got that. That's why I give you that banter sometimes.
Oh yeah, no, it's all good, dude. And I my brother was in the Army, and I mean, when people say thank you for my service, I mean, like I was like, yeah, sure, the 9 months deployed sucks away from your family, but I was never on the ground. Mm-hmm. I just had to make sure jets were running and can bomb people. I mean, it's what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah. So but yeah, you had an important job that was a part of the military. Part of getting it all going. So still a key component. Still part of history either way.
Oh, exactly. Well, and it made me who I am. It gave me my job skills to do something in the civilian field as well as trying to help the conversation, because the cannabis conversation, man, it's like being a weed advocate or whatever. It sucks because it's not like if you're a breast cancer advocate, right? Like if you were like Susan Corman fucking person, you can get your company to help donate to the fund run or whatever it is, and instead I spent years here in Washington State when it was medical. That's when you really have a lot of community, right? Because it's you versus them being the feds or anybody willing to incarcerate you for or snitches and all that stuff. You still see that in the medical. And then when it comes to the recreational market, it's supposed to be more civil, right? Like I should be able to sue somebody if we get disagreements. I come after your bank accounts, all that stuff. I'm not going to show up at your house with a baseball bat.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
big difference.
Yeah,
so, and then
okay. Oh, no, I was just agreeing with you. Just big difference for sure.
Yeah, that's the evolution I've been trying to like advocate for, is like fair business. Everybody has, and that's why New Mexico is amazing to me, man. Because you guys, like when Washington State did it, Washington and Colorado did at the same time. and Washington ruined a lot of lives. Like in the medical side of things, there was no transitional process for like a fair for people already in the field.
Mm-hmm.
Oregon, as far as I know, is the only one to do it the right way, where if you were medical one day, you were allowed to turn your switch and be recreational, which
That's kind of what they did with us. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
fucking amazing, which is fair.
Yeah, it is. It's fair. They're already there. The infrastructure was already there to have that customer base. So all it was just changing a few things and then flip of the key. Now everybody's welcome. The only thing that we ran into was like I remember telling everybody, even the day before we had an episode, when I was on that last podcast when I joined you guys on the first time being on the show, we had an episode right before, and I said all of your worries are going to change night and day from today and tomorrow. Tomorrow you're going to have a total different set of worries. First thing that someone said, why aren't patients being seen first? And so then they had to create 2 different lines, after about a week. Yeah. So after about a week, they created 2 lines. And so they had the medical cannabis patient line, and then they had the recreational line. And then you were seen solely by one person for the medical side. So we were seen first, essentially.
Is that still a thing?
Not really, because things have kind of settled down. And that kind of chilled out probably after about 2-3 months. That kind of started to chill out because more places started to open up. It was less busy because when we first opened, they opened on midnight here in Las Cruces. We had the first sale in the state. And the line wrapped around the building all the way to the back because all these people from Texas showed up. All the Texans showed up. Even some of the advocacy groups from Texas showed up. I was there just hanging out for kind of celebrating, and I was able to talk to those guys, and they came down there just for this. They weren't even trying to buy anything either. They were just there to celebrate with us, which was fantastic. Just amazing that they did. So shout out to them. But yeah, it did that for a little bit, and then it calmed down. And then now we are where we are today. You walk in, it doesn't matter if you're a patient or not, you get seen, they check you in and all that good stuff. So it's just less busy.
Well, I think it's the evolution of the markets, right? Like you start off with like here in Washington when it was medical, man, like it's not hard, especially when you're older or have service injuries or whatever, to get the script, right? So here in Washington it was broad where anybody could get a script, or but you had to go to a certain provider. There was no standardization out here, right? I had a caregiver. They gave me their little piece of paper, and then I had to convince other dispensaries to let me in the door and be like, "Look, I'm legit. I'm not a cop."
Yeah.
And they tried. Everybody tries their little legal way to do things. Like here in the beginning, it was like I had to walk in, sign a little form saying I'm joining your collective that day. Then on the way out, I signed it again, saying, "Nah, I'm done. I'm not part of your collective no more." Like just dumb shit, right? Like just I want to go to the store, buy some weed, get the fuck out. But because it was medical, you had that premise, and it is medicine. I see a lot of 6 people that were being serviced by this plant, and so, but then you also see a lot of like older people who are like, "Woo, it's legal now. I can go fucking buy weed," and then you're like, "Well, where the fuck you been this whole time?" Right? This is a issue that there are 3,000 people still incarcerated. 3,000, right? Like LPP's got a list. Freedom Grow, a group I work with.
Yeah,
there's 3,000 fucking people still locked up, and then you have people fighting for right now. The Beer Bros are fighting for Edwin Rubis. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month. But fucking, just it's nuts that. But the problem is no one really gives a fuck until like as a cause, because people are locked up and it's layered, right? RICO cases. It could be with a gun. How do you know it's just a weed case, right? Like who vets it? And so there's organizations that have done this now, have done the work. As much as I hate to say it, but props to the last administration for signing some paperwork, because a lot of those names that I saw get released were because advocates petitioned the White House, and it's just stacked it, right? Like they stacked paperwork. And so a lot of these fuckers on the way out are like, how can I do a good deed? It's low hanging fruit, right? It's not like something they champion or believed in. But you're like, a bunch of potheads. I can sign that, right? And so
they're gonna thank me a little bit. This is popular right now. They're whore for votes.
And that wouldn't happen if people like Freedom Grow and Can Do Clemency and all these other organizations who actually get petitions. I mean, that's what I used to do. I used to get these because you as an individual, everybody that's listening, everybody who's a fucking American citizen, you know, if you're 18 over, your voice can be heard, right? Like it can be. When you flood the White House with petitions, somebody at the White House has to accept it, receive it. There's more paperwork involved, and so 10,000 Edwin Rubens's letters. Maybe he'll get some more attention, you know, because it's hard to get that attention, right? In
it is.
The legislation process type thing,
especially these days.
Fuck, dude, I wouldn't even know, dude. Well, part of it's just caring. Part of it because I didn't care when I was younger, dude. I didn't. You know, when I was 18, Bill Clinton was getting in trouble for a BJ for having an affair, and I'm like, well, why? Everybody's mad that this guy didn't admit it. Of course, you're not going to admit that you're, you know, with your wife, whatever. Ooh, we got him. Like these are not real issues. Whereas 3,000 people locked up for being part of a legal industry now in 25 states, or you know, recreationally 24. I mean, it's up there.
We're at 25 now, and I believe this fall we'll probably hit to 26, 28.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. And lucky for those states, because in New Mexico we don't have ballot initiatives here. You know, we have to solely rely on our legislature. That's why I like push it so much on people. And I think some people that moved here had the, you know, pre-notion that we'll just do it like we did in California. I'm like, it doesn't work here like that. And I keep telling people, I'm like, it doesn't work here like it works in other places. We have to do it differently. We have to rely on legislature just heavy here. And you know, at the same time, I think that's good because you get a bill and then it gets debated on and then it gets changed. And to be honest, that's why we ended up with the bill that we had now. It was also a Hail Mary, but that's the reason why, is because it went through the legislative process. Well, what about this and this and this? Okay, that makes sense. You know, that would probably harm some people in this way. So let's change change the wording from, and sometimes it's they to them, period, here, comma, here. And that changes the law like night and day. So like it's little things like that. Like actually an example is, we had changed our medical cannabis laws in like 2018-19, which is great, right? But they had a clause on there that said any person can be on our medical cannabis program instead of any New Mexico resident, etc. So anybody from anywhere. Wow. So we had a bunch of people from out of state getting into our program due to that just one word. And so then they went in an emergency thing and went in and changed it, you know, about 8-9 months later, maybe a year later. And so it's things like that. And I try to get people to understand that, you know, like it's not the same everywhere. Like I wanted to talk to you about Washington too, you know, like the market there. And you know, we'll get to that on the next topic though. You know, I really want to talk about you, of course, on this section. Because you know, like you bring a lot of great history to the industry, man, you know, and especially on the media side, because like I found out about the 215 days, you know, you getting signatures and stuff, and like I remember, you know, just hearing about the 215 days, you know, and, you know, I'm over here in New Mexico. But, you know, I'm over here in New Mexico. We're like, oh, we have a medical program in 2007. We actually had one in the 70s. But it was very limited.
About that.
Yeah. So at the time, our governor, Governor Apodaca, his son, who ran for governor a few years ago, he had cancer. And so at the time, the legislature was debating this cancer bill because there was a few other patients who were using cancer going through. Lynn and Aaron were actually one of them. And they that's what the bill is named after now. And so that was those were just two. There's a few, but you know, those were just some key people. And so the legislature was kind of moving stuff through. And the governor's one of his cabinet people said, you know, Governor, if you want to try to save your son, the legislature is putting this bill through for, you know, medical at the time marijuana. You know, they called it marijuana back then. Still sometimes to say, but everyone did. And so he signed it. And so he signed it. His son used the cannabis, and to this day, he thanks cannabis. You know, even when he was running on the you know, trying to run for governor in New Mexico in 2018. So we had it from 1976 or 77, and it dissolved sometime in 1980 something.
Holy crap.
We were the first one, and I think Virginia or West Virginia was the second, actually, just maybe a few years after us.
Damn. I mean, this plant has such history. I didn't even know about New Mexico's medical program. But, you know, even when I was younger, 18, 19, selling, I had dreams of going to Alaska, because you can go to Alaska at the time and grow 6 plants or some shit like that. And that got held against them for their like government support for roads and shit, right? Like the feds came at them, they squashed the program, which is crazy. That what other plant thing has this history, right? Like I appreciate you recognizing me. It's weird. Like I said, very meta. One time I went to an event. Well, first, before everything I've done really has been online. It's been, I'm really good. I'm very, I'm probably online way too much, but I have this obsession with the internet. I mean, I work in tech. I love science, tech, hardware, all that crap.
Me too.
Yeah, and I managed to like I said, sometimes you have to work harder than most, and I've gotten lucky to where for my day job, I support $2 billion industries, and I'm respected and left alone, right? Because I got a podcast that has 60,000 subs, and I'm part of a Facebook page with 500,000 followers, whatever. It's just like there's a point where you get yourself out there and you're like, fuck, like there's no going back.
No.
I cannot get a DoD contract if I wanted to, right? Like,
I'm the same way. Like people in my state government know who I am, so I'm just like, like.
But I think like that you're making such great progress with having like real media support you, right? Like I've been doing this thing, trying to make a table for myself for a long time, and it doesn't pay. Like with Tom and I's adventure, this is probably like my third or fourth cannabis media type thing. I love the write. That was the thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to be a writer. I met a group of guys a long time ago who started the weed blog. It's now called the Brickweed blog because they're shit. That's the thing about like, everybody's like, oh, little hippies and community and all this. Fuck that. People will fuck you so hard if they can be the predominant whatever.
Yeah.
Or even growers, right? Like growers will snitch on each other just because of competition bullshit. And that's
happening here with the retails everywhere too, on top of it.
Yeah. But that's the thing, like that's where the legality thing has to happen, right? Because you're doing things by the right way. Fucking call the cops. Give them a tour, have them little pre-rolls for them. And by the way, police should be allowed to smoke.
I agree. I agree with you 100%. Firefighters, police, all of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
I used to sell to firefighters, dude, back when I was in college. Well, to the wife of, right? Because
gotcha.
It's not like they're going out and hustling. They're more like, babe, can you go get me something? And the long-haired hippie, yeah, I think I'll get weed off of that guy.
Right.
That's how it was back in the day. I even sold to some college professors. Like, to me, cannabis has always been like this. I grew up with it. My mom used to get weed from my grandmother so she could put it in rubbing alcohol, and then she would use those tinctures for her elbows and shit, arthritis, right?
Oh, that's like an old fucking Latina kind of
thing, man.
Dude. Yeah, all the abuelitas do it around here, dude.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. Like my mom would do it. So like I had a teenage mom growing up. So like she was young enough to still get weed and all that stuff, and then taking it to the great grandmothers, who was scary to me because she spoke nothing but Spanish, and I wasn't raised. I'm third generation, so it's like, yeah, I'm doing Duolingo now, man. I'm just trying to get in touch with the roots.
I mean, my first name's Chad, for God's sake. So yeah, I get
it. Well, then if you look at me, like I'd like to go to Mexico, man, and man, when people talk to me, I'm like, lo siento. No hablo, delicioso, Dora.
Yeah.
And then they get a laugh, and then they work with me.
That's hilarious, dude. I'm sure some of the viewers are gonna love it because New Mexico, we're a very bilingual state. I speak the terrible Spanglish more than anything. So yeah, they'll probably have a great kick out of that, man. But I feel it with you too. I'm the same way. My dad's from Southern Colorado, but his family's from Mexico originally, and then my mom speaks more Spanish than him, but he looks more than her, and it's weird.
But, fundamentally though, and this is, I think, like, because it's lost on my kids too, because I'm also half Samoan, and I actually didn't meet my real dad until I was 20, so I lost all culture. I have no sense of real culture, like as a youth. Mm-hmm. But fundamentally, overall, we're American, right? Like that's it. Mm-hmm. We are the American dream. Yeah, and that's why I think the power comes into like doing all the perpetual online shit. Like I showed you that article.
Let's pull it up.
Make it bigger.
Yeah, we'll pull it up right now.
So for the Northwest Leaf, I used to have a little the trolling the police. Like I used to like troll cops online. These are my memes that I made, right? Because cops would post arrest and all this
Wait,
shit.
I've seen some of these memes before, dude. That's hilarious.
Oh yeah, dude. Like I said, I've been doing this a long time. So
yeah, that's funny as shit.
so like yeah, I used to make these memes and fuck with these guys. Weed News was a website that I was part of. Like that was like 2-3 fucking media attempts, right? Like everybody wants to be high times until you realize it's real work.
Yeah, it is. It's real work, and a lot of the work that you do is free shit.
Free. It's especially with this conversation, it's like there's so many facets of policy, and then also like when the wrongful arrest, shit happens, you're like, how do you make a difference? And that's the hard part. Because I want law enforcement. I want us to not be afraid of cops. I want my kids not be afraid of cops. I want to respect them and shit, but you can't do that when they're harassing, people for hemp, at a bus stop.
Yeah, exactly. It's like what? And it's hard when you have the states that are legal too. And we're so close to Texas, that like, the area where I'm at, I'm 30 minutes from Texas. So for me to go to the VA, I have to go to El Paso. So, which is Texas. And so all of us over here, our buttholes are puckered just driving through the area because, if you get pulled over, they can harass you for something. Got any weed in the car? Whatever. It's Texas, dude. Like that's They'll get you for an edible and weigh the whole thing.
Oh shit, yeah. Well, hell, dude, that's how I got my. But mine's in Wyoming. My social equity. So I got pulled over in Wyoming while on the job. I used to be a traveling technician, right? And I had a long beard at the time, and I had scales. I worked predominantly with a lot of RF, so it looked kind of a little freaky, like a big ass bomb making machine, and I had dark skin. So when I got pulled over in Wyoming, I was like, oh man, I'm so fucked. The guy actually, he looks in the car. Well, the way I got pulled over, I pass him, and then he motherfucker catches up to me, pulls up to the side of me, then pulls it behind me. I'm like, this motherfucker, I'm fucked. And so pulls me over, and then he looks in the car, he sees a little sprinkle, and like the one thing with cops, dude, just be honest. I mean, you might go to jail, you might not, but hiding it's gonna fucking make your situation worse. I mean, if they see it, right? If they don't see it, fucking no, there's nothing here, officer.
Yeah, you didn't see anything.
Right, but if they see it, you're just like, yeah, that's not oregano. But and so he saw some shit, put me in the back of his car, went through all my shit, gone through all my luggage, and found like my pipe, my grinder, and I had all these magazines, High Times, the Northwest Leaf, the one that I was writing for, just different shit that I like to the culture. I like to educate myself, and he was like, are you a grower? And I'm like, no. He's like, be honest with me. I'm like, yeah, I'm not trying to really care, and I'm not hiding nothing, right? And so let me go. He said, I got to the point where he's like, you can shut up now, or I can take you downtown. I'm like, I'm in the middle of fucking Wyoming. I don't want to go downtown. And so like that gave me a case, but it's like a case of nothing, right? It should be nothing. It was only like an eighth or something I had at the time, and I tried to like just settle the fines because I actually got arrested several times before in California, but back then it was just tickets. Yeah, well, part of that, we hotboxed my brother on his birthday, and we made a left at a light that he shouldn't have. And the cop was right behind me. And so, of course, we get pulled over. We roll down the window. Smoke comes out like fucking Cheech and Chong. And then the cop, we're all freaking out. And he's all like, you got meth? We're like, no, we're just stoners. And then he took our pipe. He fucking opened it up, looked at it, dumped it out, and then gave me back the pipe. And then told us, like, look, don't smoke and drive. And then sent us on our way home. And that was in Oceanside, California. Yeah. Then again, I got pulled over another time where I had an outbreak light. Honest with the cop. I got pulled in the back of his car, and then 5 cop cars came up on my little El Camino that I was driving and tore it apart. And I'm like, I fucking told you.
Yeah.
Who do you think you got?
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck, dude? Guy? Yeah. That's like dealing with the border patrol here sometimes,
Oh shit, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
But it doesn't help that you're brown and I was wearing Jankos. So
oh man, the Jankos. That was like right away back in the day. It's like delinquent. Search them.
It just tells you how old I am, man. That's all. So yeah, I've been doing quite a bit. And then with Tom, I've known him since MySpace, dude. So like,
really, I was gonna ask you, how'd you guys meet?
MySpace. So
that's a while ago.
Yeah, dude. So Tom, and actually, it's a funny story, dude. So, like, he had a pen name too. He used to go by his name, Home Rogue. He actually wrote some books. He was part of, because he actually is a banker,
Okay.
lawyer. Like, he's been a finance lawyer.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And so he was actually doing that for real at the same time trying to advocate. Right? Again, none of us use our real names.
Yeah.
It's still taboo. Even like Jorge Cervantes, right? Like, that's how long everybody's been using fake names.
I mean, I
And
Invader Kush, so yeah.
oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
like, and then I really wish I had a cooler one, like Method Man.
Right?
But Miggy 420 was my gaming tag. Miggy was a name given to me by the waitresses when I used to bus tables, and like I was always like the cute young guy, and so like fucking. I come from I believe that you're not supposed to make your own street name.
Yeah, that's true.
When rap was coming up, everybody was trying to do something or whatever, get that street cred. Instead, I got the internet cred,
That
but
Miggy 420.
so I went with that. But on MySpace though, I was still trying to evolve like how I wanted to do things. Formerly, my name was What Would Chicken Joe Do, because it was off of the surfer cartoon, or the what I'm saying? Chicken Joe was like the most chill motherfucker. I was like, man, I'm Chicken Joe, man. You just like nothing worries, no, it's all good. Like, the universe will take care of you, man. But like, it's whatever. And then so Tom, he had his name Home Rogue, and he wrote a couple books, and we became friends. A lot of the activists, it's always been online social networking type shit. And then when we went to Facebook, I got his request from Home Rogue, and I got the Tom Howard one. I thought I knew two white guys. It was the same white guy.
So. It was the same one.
I was like, my bad, dude. I mean, Home was kind of an interesting name. I don't even know. It has reference. Always Tom has nuances to things when he does shit. But like, I was just like, oh man, it took me a minute to realize you're the same guy. But so then we also have this Facebook page that we were doing it more for advocacy back in the day. This page is like 10 years old. I don't even know if like half the people are still alive on this thing, but like, we got 4,500 likes, right? And got that kind of like presence where sometimes I'll get like 30 shares, or like if you get a good moment, you'll get like a couple hundred shares. Like, like it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But judging the algorithm is the hard part, right? For me, this has been like a social experiment on like what I can get away with. For the plant, right? It's just a fucking plant, and it's not like I'm trying to sell like suppository. Let's go boof it. But,
exactly.
Just trying to do memes. Matter of fact, I just got flagged and almost got deleted off of Facebook by this stupid ass hooker meme. So I posted have you seen that meme with the meme of the girl's like in the window, and she's like, anything $50, and he's all like, you ever trim?
Dude, I put that on my stories the other day from your post. Yeah, that's where it came from. Yeah. I was like, I'm taking this.
I got flagged, dude. And Facebook was like, you're trying to sell something. I'm like, memes, baby. That one. It's a classic, dude.
It is.
I hate trimming's hard.
Yeah, it fucking sucks. If you've never trimmed before, you haven't grown enough.
Oh my goodness, dude. I mean, it's an experience, but every part of this industry is still evolving, right? Just like when you were on our show, talking about the OSHA stuff with the young lady who died in the enclosed space, and then and then we have a guy here who actually worked with the NIOSH people, the safety people, where they were at his farm, and they like observed what kind of crimpers they're using. Well, that involves a lot of carpal tunnel stuff. They were trying to identify real safety hazards and shit. It was pretty dope. Like there's been studies so far of like real practices, and we still have far to go, and I think federal legalization will do that.
I think so.
Rescheduling will definitely put us ahead.
It will. I'm a fan of deschedule. I know you are too. Like just take it, just put it. Same with alcohol, tobacco kind of thing. Just take it off the scheduling altogether. And then we'll figure everything out once we go there, because the unfortunate part is we're probably going to be part of the ATF. Probably be the ATCF or something like that. Because they'll probably just go along the lines of the same thing that they've done, unless we successfully as an industry push altogether to not, because that's one thing that is different now from back then, is that we have now 25 going on, hopefully like 28, 30 states almost that have legalization, have adult use. Now there's markets and people that are in these places that can fight and say, no, we need to go this route. It's just most of them and us are afraid to talk to the government, and we're afraid to even question it because we were under the shadows and we're growing in closets and, telling people I'm great at growing tomatoes for so long, like
Oh yeah.
now we're out there. Some people are just not used to it. And so I would say almost not ready to talk to the government.
Look at the people who the government does listen to, right? Like Kevin Sabat, right? Like that guy has the most, the best gaslighting scheme when it comes to like oh, we want smart approach. Like as much as that guy is a dirtbag when it comes to like policy overall for citizenry and fairness, the gaslighting coming like, we're just trying to get fast approach. You don't want big marijuana. Motherfucker, I don't care. I don't care if Walmart weed takes over, but what I want is be able for everybody to grow. Because like once that high level, and you're seeing it every day, like with hemp right now, everybody's, Farm Bill fucking passed, and everybody's just like jumping in, or at least people with money, and then they're trying to face the tribulations they face per state, because some states are letting gas station weed go on, some states don't care, some states do care. People are finding their markets, and but like with the people against cannabis, right? Like people have made a career just from funding from the DEA and shit, saying no, this is not the right thing to do, opposed to finding the real right way to do, like rescheduling it. Recently, the DEA, they put a little side note in Marijuana Moment, caught this in an article just yesterday. I think I read it or today, that one of their side notes, they reinforced their two-factor authentication, how they did rescheduling for cannabis. I guess there's usually a 5-factor way to do things, but for cannabis, they did it in 2, and they justified it. And people are butthurt about it. Or, of course, the people. When I say people, it's only Kevin Sabat and like Smart. Like that's or even like the drug rehab places, right? These are the people who are advocating for like no change. When it'd be nice to have real change, and then we have that parity. We have that like it's just another fucking thing in our cabinets. When Tommy Chong got busted back in the day for bongs, they raided his house. They found a pound of fucking weed, and they're like, "What's this for?" He's like, "You got a pound of sugar in your house. I got a pound of weed." That's all it is, man. It's just
and until the turn of the century, I mean, doctors had the cannabis. They had cannabis in their bags, as medicine. And it really wasn't that long ago that we really started attacking cannabis when you look at it. And we have that article that came out, where Nixon is on audio saying that, well, I don't really find it that dangerous. It's just not a good time and good look right now. And it's like, well, this whole thing's bunk then. Like, why are we here? Why are we doing this? Come on, let's progress a little bit now. And, we have Nixon himself saying, it's not that bad. Come on. And he was the one that freaking started this shit.
Well, that's the thing. There's no real science during the Anslinger, right? Like it was just be black or brown and smoke weed and
those jazz players.
Where is your backing of science? And really alcohol is the one that tears families and communities apart better. But I think that's part of our drug ignorance, right? Like America has that preacher's daughter syndrome where like you keep cooped up for a little bit, say everything's bad. Then you find out this one thing's bad. Next thing you know, you're in a gangbang. I mean,
it's like,
not.
What the fuck?
Yeah. What is a good thing? What is bad? Oh shit! Now I'm addicted. Great.
Yeah. It's like, oh, now I'm a druggie. But and even where I'm at, the Latino Hispanic culture, it makes it even worse because you have those machismo guys that are like, well, you don't want a shot at tequila, you're not a man, blah blah blah, this and that, and then it's kind of pushed on you, the alcoholism and all that. So that doesn't help either. So luckily that's changing slowly. Now we have cannabis is being consumed more than alcohol now, which I think is a good thing.
100%.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. Like it's not going to hurt you. And a lot of people are using cannabis to get away from pharmaceuticals as well, which I think is fantastic.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah, because go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say you made a great point when it comes to like sometimes we're our worst enemies, right? When you reinforce a certain a thing or make it fun of a thing, like you're weak. That's not weak. It's just a good decision, right? Mm-hmm. It's like when people because I'll stand for everybody, right? And then like the trans community, Tom and I see a lot of trolls on the Facebook page I deal with, right? Behind bots and just ignorant people. And so, like, if I post a funny weed meme, like I want the gays to protect their marijuana plants just the way with their guns, you know, like
I posted that one too a few months ago.
yeah,
That's
you know, shit
hilarious.
like that. And then you get people triggered, and it's like, look, dude, people who identify a different way and then stand up for what they are actually are stronger because they're putting with your bullshit. Like you're reinforcing that thing that I believe why they're strong, where they're like, oh, how are they strong? That's weak, you know, whatever. And it's like just standing up for yourself, just being a thing is strength, and that's kind of like what I've been trying to do with my advocacy when it comes to like people. Like I really want, you know, hope. That's a big thing for people locked up. Change, you know, these are all things that still need to occur, and we're still evolving.
Yeah, 100%. Like just like everything, it's still evolving. The industry is not done changing. We're
No.
not going to be done changing probably ever. Laws change every year. They change all the time.
Right.
So do rules and administrations. So we just have to kind of go with the change and everything, and kind of roll with the punches and try to make the best decisions that's going to be best for the industry overall, not just for a couple of people or for someone's friend.
Exactly.
Yeah, because that's when we start to lose, is when we start thinking about just one person. And I'll get onto something similar to that here in a little bit when we talk about the oversaturation conversation.
Yeah.
But before we move on, I wanted to ask, what made you guys start that YouTube channel to begin with? Like, when did that begin?
Well, it's like 5 years. Tom actually, and again, we're just friends. That like one day in Advocates, where he was like, "Hey, man," he started out doing the YouTube thing, and then, you know, it's hard when you're by yourself. Like it's not, you know, yeah, he's not like a Mr. Beast lawyer guy. You know, he's, you know, Mr. Beast when he started, he just said Logan Paul's name like 10,000 times or some shit straight, and that's how the ball rolls for attention, right? But those people who like the YouTubers, influencers, they're appealing to kids, right? They're appealing to just like a dumb metric, you know. It's a low level. It's like when people talk about like Andrew Tate, he's like the masculine version that little kids think a man should be, but it's actually just horrible. He's a horrible human being and whatever.
Yeah.
Like with Tom, like with the cannabis conversation, like I'm just trying to reach out to fellow adults, fellow Americans, and understand like. I kind of laugh like, cannabis culture is American culture. Like that's, you know, there's no real, not everybody smokes, not everybody drinks, not everybody does anything, but it's part of our lexicon now, and it needs to shift so bad. But yeah, so Tom was starting with like he always does the play. We're big on SEO and all that shit. Like when I was doing my other two ventures, the Weed News one, just we had to abort for different reasons, and I got a funny story on that one for later on, but one day, but so I wasn't doing shit, and then Tom had me, hey man, can we chat like every Wednesday about, you know, cannabis policies and stuff? And I was like, yeah man, I'll devote my lunchtime to it. Like right now as I'm talking to you, I just you know, I just use my lunch, my hour, whatever, you know. So it's like I was like, yeah, fuck it. I mean, I work in tech and everything's all automated and I can do shit. And we have a conversation. So we started doing that Wednesdays and Sundays. And then it gets a little much, right? Like it's a little much, especially, but he was always worried, like, what's there to talk about? Like, you know, well, I'm like, dude, there's always going to be fucking something to talk about. Like, I've already been writing about this plant for 10 years at that point. And it's like, with policy and culture and people getting locked up and just personal stories and anecdotes, right? Like that's why I wanted you to have you on to talk about New Mexico. And you know, we got 50 different fucking fiefdoms. Like there's so many of us that like even, and then people like in Kentucky or Tennessee who are still living in 1930. I mean, I make jokes about like the secret handshake and shit, but people are like, oh no, that's still going on here. Like,
holy shit.
You know what I mean? That sucks for you. I'm sorry that your people don't like respect your adulthood or liberty or whatever you want to call it. But like for me, I just go to a store and I can buy without I show my ID, show I'm 21, but that's it. There's no database, there's no nothing except for what the store keeps, just for my rewards. You know,
the
but
reward
like
points. That's
dude,
actually a benefit.
yeah, no, we're there. So like, It's a we still have so much more to evolve, but yeah. So like how we got started though was just about, all right, man, I'm down. Let's talk every week, and then it's slowly evolved and working on the SEO, working on all the different parts of like interneting, because we're as much as like we got shadow banned several times. We got deleted for a week because we posted a link on YouTube early on. So it's like, and then Tom freaks out because this is his business, right? And that's part of like why I was saying like how now I'm trying to take this more serious, because like respect to what you got with the media, Adams Media, supporting you and all this stuff. Fuck
Shout
yes,
out.
dude. Shout out, dude. Like shout out Jack in the Box. Hit me up because I eat enough of your food. Fucking sponsor me.
Right.
I'm not the healthiest motherfucker, but like, God damn it, let's do this.
Yeah,
But that's
like
out there.
exactly. No, and I love that, and I love that it's being embraced more. It's come a long way since you've started. The industry itself, the plant, what we've learned, cannabis media, because you guys been doing it a long time. I've focused on New Mexico for the past 11 years, so all my media stuff has been just focused here. But trying to keep everybody in the know for New Mexico. So like guys like you, dude, I appreciate it so much because you guys branch out to the whole nation, and we need that. We need like the guys like you who put it out there and everything. You and Tom. So I respect you guys for that. And like I said, I tune in all the time, man. So what's the future for you guys for this?
Well, we got a store coming, so like,
okay,
how things evolve, man. It's so weird how like shit just happens. Sometimes you reach out and try and make it happen. Other times just because you're in the mix. And so like we did it. We recorded how we applied for our store for social equity. Like I was telling you, like my arrest and whatnot, and we won. $250 later, we won the license. But it took a year for them to issue the license to us.
yeah,
And now we're in the process of raising funds to get the land and the store and all that stuff. But like that's the focus right now is the store, because once the store happens and once we can get that going, not only will it give us like more street cred, right, to the business aspect of things, like Tom already has that. I've been to these events, MJ Biz, Canacon. I've been watching them. The evolution of events is kind of neat, right? The networking that you be doing and shit, especially like New Mexico only, like having that specific. Like holy fuck, dude! Watching your podcast with High Times when they were talking about how that cup was a people's choice, where like they were actually able to get product into people's hands who paid a certain amount of money. That's not happening out here in Washington State yet. Like the fun police would have cracked down on them and said, well, you're giving away products, you can't do that, but there's got to be a way that the person making it can get their shit in front of the eyes of people who are the connoisseurs, right? Like, I want more of that. I want, like, there's so much opportunity for that. And so like the fact that you guys are doing that is awesome. Like that's so cool. And there's so much potential for other events and things that you do out there. That's what I want to do. I want to cover more state by state stuff, the policy. If federal legalization happens, dude, that's a whole new animal, because the hemp cannabis baby is going to happen. And then goodbye gas station weed, I hope. I mean,
I do too, actually.
Well, so like, are you familiar with Luke Carlin, LMC Media?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
I know him as LMC. Yeah. I have him on my stuff too as well.
Yeah. So yesterday he posted a question about like spray terps, like because he's in New York. He travels, right? A lot of these younger guys are traveling. I wish I had that energy and money and time, but
Me too, brother.
But like, so he's in New York, and apparently spray packs are a huge thing. Like people accept it. Like I don't care if it's sprayed or whatever. But food for thought. He was like, how come we go to McDonald's, but yet we're mad about like the spray packs? And it's like the same reason why I don't go to McDonald's every day is the same reason why I don't like spray packs. Even though, people smoke cigarettes, but once cannabis and hemp become on an even playing field, then the consumer will have a choice, a knowledgeable choice, right? Like, I want my purple Durple sprayed with pink shit. Yeah, that's fine. You smoke you, boo boo. I want something that was cured, raised, organically grown in a meadow. I don't care. I just want something that was good. And I don't think the spray way is the way to go. But
I don't either, but you make a good point. That the consumer is going to want what the consumer wants.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we can not do that here in New Mexico and get people really. I mean, we're getting people good cannabis, so they're already knowing what like great terpenes and other Tropicana sulfurs and all the other good stuff that makes cannabis smell and tasty good and all that good stuff, all the scientific stuff that's come out recently. So hopefully with the education that we're doing and the shows like mine and stuff like that, trying to educate the public here in New Mexico, we can veer away from that as becoming a thing here, because that kind of scares me, but at the same time, something for everybody, like there needs to be something for everyone. If you want your spray terps, dude, go have it. But I'm not gonna smoke it with you.
Well, and I think in states like yours, like who have recreational first, at least the consumer will know, like, oh, this is what good weed's supposed to be like, and here's that diet weed sprayed with like extra infused, and because if you get good weed and you can get good like infused joints, for example, right? Like they have these new things now, like these little dabbers that you can like wipe your oil onto a joint or whatever. So you can have that same effect, however you want to do.
We have those here, yeah.
Yeah, but with the natural plant, right? You don't need to add some freaky deaky lavender terpene to your stuff. You can just get real weed.
Yeah, exactly. Just get the real thing, and you'll be happy. And that's why I tell like blunt smokers, I'm like, blunts or smoking blunts came from when the mids days to make it taste better, right? So if you have really good weed, if you just put it in a joint, you're gonna have a good time. And some people just like the tobacco and all that, so I get it, but I try to let them know, that I came from just having shitty weed, man. That's all we had to make it taste better.
Oh no, 100%. And as an asthmatic, I always like my lungs are a little sensitive. Sometimes I've actually been in the hospital for my asthma. So good weed is always good for me. Like it's like breathing in air. So that's why I keep it natural.
Yeah, me too, 100%. But while we're on all these conversations, let's just jump over to our other conversation we're going to have for the show. I know I usually have two other topics, but this next one is really important. And Miggy, and I'm sure you have some things to say about it too. Let's talk about the oversaturated boogeyman. And we've mentioned a couple things within the show that kind of correlates to this, but I want to start out with New Mexico has a lot of issues within its medical cannabis, or within its medical cannabis and its adult use cannabis side. However, we did do a lot of things right, and I think one of the right things we did was keeping the licenses open versus going with we need limited licenses, this and that, because we did that already here in New Mexico. We've done a lot of things already in New Mexico, and they failed for several different reasons. And I'm here to say that we shouldn't be going backwards. I want to ask you, Miggy. So when Washington went recreational or adult use, did they have a cap on licenses from the get, or did they like incorporate that later?
It seemed to be like there wasn't no actual like number in the beginning. Not that I saw of. But like it's crazy though, because we went from estimated 3,000 pot shops across the state, medical dispensaries, to like now I think only 1,000. It's like we're down to a third of what they had statewide.
Yeah.
And there was no, I don't think, a cap initially, but what they did was they had the initial round 10, 12 years ago, and they haven't had a new one since.
And that's my fear. We did that here. And that's the thing I told them. And I told the legislature, I said, the only way I think that the industry would be okay if you guys had an automatic end to it. It would be more of a pause. Like you pause the licensing for whatever time, let whatever catch up that you believe is going to happen. Because I think this is the boogeyman, and I'm kind of leaning on that, because how can you blame one issue for all of these people and all of these? Like my issue is oversaturation. It's like, it can't be, dude. It can't be for everybody, because if the market was that oversaturated, is that much of an issue, no one would be making it. But you have some here in New Mexico, we call our producers from medical side, we call them legacy producers. For those of you who don't know, we've had a medical cannabis program since 2007. We didn't have producers till about the 2010s. And then even then it was very limited. I lived in Alamogordo at the time when I first moved back to New Mexico from Hawaii, and there was no dispensaries in my city. It was the biggest city in the county. It was only like 30,000 people there, but there was no dispensaries. I had to go to either Rio Doso, which is 45 minutes up a mountain, or over here to Las Cruces, which was an hour away. And then I had to go back through a border check. So I only had two options, and the rest were up in Albuquerque. So like, it was really crappy because they had a monopoly. You had to buy from these places. You had no other options. you know, like, and I feel that they want to kind of get it to that way. And some of the people that are pushing for this, that's what they want. You know, like I want people to be forced to buy from me. And some of these legacy
Yeah.
producers, I think we're expecting that still when we went adult use, was almost like they get an automatic win. We're going to open the doors and everyone's going to come to us because they're going to be forced to come to us. And I think that's what a lot of people had an idea what this is, but that's not it. The consumer decides now. You know, before we had no choice. You know, like some of these places were the best because they were the only ones. You know, like we won this award because you're the only dispensary. You know.
Now, are you guys vertical or horizontal?
It's either or, whichever one. When we were
Nice.
medical, you had to be fully vertical. You had no choice. So that's where some of these guys, you know, they have several stores around the state, but they can't supply it or whatever. And, you know, they're having all these issues. But a lot of the issues come from not updating their business. You know, like when we were medical, the packaging and everything was very bland, very plain, you know, because they could get away with that. You had no other choice. And the DOH here, who used to be in control of it, you had to take your packaging and they had to approve it. So it was a pain in the ass to change your packaging to start with. So some of these guys, they kept with the same model and didn't change anything. You know, they just like, well, we're just going to keep doing what we did. It worked. But it's a total different market. You know, you were catering to 160, 180,000 people. Now we're catering to New Mexico. We're catering to majority of Texas. You know, like we're like half of our sales come from Texas. Let's be honest. So, you know, we're catering to a lot of people now. So it's totally different. And a lot of these guys haven't figured that out. And the reason why I'm saying like it's the boogeyman too is because there's some legacy producers that are doing great. Their numbers are fantastic. They're fine. They're going to be good for the long run. And it's because they made the proper changes to change with the market. They didn't just blame oversaturation. They kept driving on with the mission. And if you do that and you do the right decisions, you'll be fine. So I don't know. Have you seen something similar in Washington with, you know, people failing because of reasons like that? Or has that cap kind of shielded those people from, you know, ever having to worry about that?
Here's the thing though. Here in Washington, it's so funny, dude, because players who are involved, you know, who were successful. So there's one person I know of in particular that bought out like 3 other brands per se, right? So they kept the brands alive under their name, but it's all going to the same money, right? Yeah. So that kind of shit's happening now, where you don't know who owns what. Right, yeah. Like you were saying how you like Fat Panda earlier in the chat. You know, that's our largest producer. That's our biggest seller person, largest grow. They buy in bulk. They can make decent bud at a mass, you know, produce product. But then you got the mom and pops who are smaller, and you know they're only putting out so many joints a day, or only so much square footage for a flower. And a lot of it, I think, comes down to that business model, like you're saying, like where you have to change with the evolving market, where like medical, when it's medical, and that's why I also think rescheduling is important, because when recreational happens, medical loses. And it's unfortunate because no one ever thinks about the cost. Here in Washington, here's something silly for you. We test our recreational cannabis different than we test our medical cannabis. Right? What? Like, yeah. So like the medical cannabis testing, of course, involves more like the metals and all that shit. Fucking recreational testing is just like THC and I think for a couple pesticides, right? Like
that's crazy.
Yeah. And it's like the same fucking consumable. It's a consumable plant.
Yeah.
All the same.
Yeah. And I keep telling people that medical cannabis and recreational cannabis, the only difference is the price. Yeah. You know, or you know, the fact that you have a car to get one. You know, because like there's really no difference to it. It makes no sense to me, you know?
Well, I think we have to define like medical grade cannabis to me is in a sense something that's just really good weed. It's just really good weed. Yeah. And the non-medical weed, you can get away with, say, using shitty pesticides or not purging it properly, right? But the problem for me, as someone who works in the industry of measurement and quality, you know, because I want to get involved with the lab testing, and part of the problem is it needs to be uniform. The process and what you're looking for. You know, we're going through all these fucking scandals now of like high percentage THC. That's been years, man. It's been going on for years. I've been preaching this like to yelling at the back door all day. Like I've been telling you know, everyone wants to worry about like big weed. No, man. we can get good regulation if we just advocate for the right things. Like when people talk about regulation, it's not just like the rules of like how to do business, but it's like, what are the rules? Like for
Yeah.
me, lab testing, requiring lab testing to be done a certain way, fundamentally overall, is uh, lab regulation is plant regulation.
Hmm.
Because if I'm keeping the labs in check and they're checking the plant and it's all uniform, that's all we need to know. You
100%.
know?
Yeah, because we had a recall recently. There
Yeah.
was a test that went through, and there's some pesticides found, and now, it was Maggie's farm. Out of all of them, Maggie's farm was the one that's happened
Yeah.
on, and it had been found last year in November, but for some reason they just had the recall recently. So I don't know what happened, why that happened, but it's one of those things like, well, why aren't we cracking down on our testing then? Like, why are we allowing these things to go through the gaps like that? Like,
Well, I
what
can
do we
tell
need
you,
to change?
it's money. It's
Yep.
money for the
Yep.
labs. Like that's as I'm trying to get ready for my venture into labs, cannabis biomass testing, right? Like there's only so much bandwidth. That was part of the problem in Washington State when it was medical. So lab testing was an option back then. No one fucking had
Mhm.
to do anything.
We didn't need
Uh,
it till 2016.
yeah, but some
Yeah.
people tried, right?
Yep.
And then I went to the labs talking to the labs and and the growers and the stores. And part of the problem the stores had was by the time they send something to get tested in the lab, they get the results like 2 weeks later, and they already sold all the product, right?
Yep.
No one cared it or whatever. And that's part of the problem is the bandwidth of testing, and just yeah, that's weird how it took a year for them to do a recall on something that was already sold. So there
Yeah.
was definitely a failure in that processing, but
Yeah.
part of it is just things take time and it's expensive.
Yeah, I agree. And here in New Mexico, we don't have many testing facilities. And of course, we got that split between the border checks. So, getting your product to get to testing sometimes requires you to go to Albuquerque, which
Damn.
requires you to go past the border check. So, like, there's another leap that we have to go right there. And like a lot of these places that are going out of business used to fight us when it came to certain things. Like they used to fight us on testing. They told us, well, it's going to make it be more expensive. There's no guarantee, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And they fought us, and even when we went recreational, it was kind of optional to get your stuff tested because of the whole border thing an issue. So like
Yeah.
even till almost recently, we were having issues and places were fighting us on that. And the thing about it is patients don't forget that. And we were so jaded for so long that some of these places their sales went down when we went adult use, when we had better and more options. And
Hell yeah.
people like to talk. They tell their friends, where should I go when they come into town? Don't go to this place because of this and this and this. And that's really what's happening, is just several different things on this front, with these guys. And testing is one of the reasons why, like there's a lot of shadiness going on with it, especially here in New Mexico. There's a couple of select places that if you give them enough changey, they'll give you
Yeah.
whatever number you want. So, and I think that's something that really needs to be cracked down on, because that's not fair to anybody.
Well, it needs to be bolstered too.
Yeah.
Here, Tom came out here a couple of years ago, and we did a couple of tours of some facilities, and an edible company out here. They actually had a lab in their company. Now, they wouldn't give me a tour inside the lab because it's
Yeah.
proprietary shit. But like the fact that they were actually testing their stuff ahead of time before they put the product. I mean, that's what business is about, right? Like you want to have repeatable, reliable product, and we're still in this gray area. I think until federal legalization happens, like I don't know why we still test. We don't even have home grow. We don't have home delivery here. We don't have lounges, and we've had it legal longer than any other state, right? We've
Mhm.
been besides Colorado, but before that too, though, the culture here was, dude, we had dab bars,
Mhm.
right? We had high times cups here where high people were on stage throwing joints in the crowd, right?
Yeah.
At dab bars on the other side of the street, like in tents and stuff. Like everybody, we always try and be safe and secure on our how we do things, right? As consumers, and no one died, right? There was
Yeah.
thousands of people that went to this event, fucking weed galore. No one died, and everybody walked away happy. And uh, yeah, the fundamental thing is just being treated the same, right? Just to be
Mhm.
a thing on the shelf, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Just
It's
another. We're kind of headed that route where I'm at anyway. It's becoming more normalized, which is
yeah,
great. but it does. And there's some other states that they do need that. And it's weird that you say that you guys kind of went backwards when you legalized it. Like in a
Yes.
sense, it was like so open. It was like, oh my god. But here we were so closed and everything. Like we only had 34 producers in 2022 when we went legal.
Woo.
So yeah, there wasn't that many. So most people were just used to being forced to go to these certain places. And so
Yeah.
now we got options. We have options everywhere. And I want to give some people out there some tips to how you can save your business by just changing. Look at your marketing, look at your customer service, look at your customer experience. Oh my God, that one's huge. Look at your management. Like who are your managers? Your training. Train your bud tenders better.
Oh, yeah.
Have them very educated. If they can be educated, they can really sell a good product.
Oh, yeah.
Even if someone doesn't want a good product, like, oh well, we got what you're looking for then. So a good bud tender can sell anybody anything. Like they'll find something for someone.
Oh, yeah.
But you have to train them.
The store environment is different, right? Like,
Yep.
like you said, we went back, dude. Like, when it comes to like the market and for the consumer, we had farmers markets here, dude.
Yeah.
Like several across the state, and none of these places ever got raided. The only time like we had in 2011 some pushback from the feds, to like probably 2012 when we legalized it, and then there was the crackdown on the medical. They actually legislated medical pretty much death, right? Yeah. Like I can still get a medical card here. For what's it worth? I don't know. I can get tax-free weed, but it's only a certain selection of weed that's a medical grade weed. And again, the program's all fucked up because when we had medical, it was a free for all, dude. Like I said, farmers markets, dude. People were coming out of town, buying pounds and leaving, right? Let's not kid ourselves. But also, no one died. Like it was a fair. When you talk about saturation, dude, like Oregon comes to mind because they're kind of going through that. Like they've been off and on.
Yeah.
But I still think it's about business practices, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you got good weed and you're growing an acre of it, just say an acre, it's up to you to know, like, okay, this one works. This I was able to sell an acre's worth. Oh shit, I still have like a half acre's worth. Maybe next time I'll just do less, right? Like,
yeah,
you gotta judge the consumer with what you're doing too. Like you said, the people just like think they're gonna get it all out there and think they're the best, right? Like, you ever ask a grower who's the best grower?
They're always like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Who has the best weed?
Yes.
Like you ask a dispensary, who's got the best weed in town? They're just gonna point
exactly.
Yeah, they always do, and I get it. Business reasons, I get it 100%. You want to be the best, but you got to prove it too. That's the whole thing about the cannabis industry is it's easy to prove you wrong if you make that claim. Like if you're going to make that claim in this industry, you better be able to back it up because people are going to put you to the test. And some people will go and do reviews. I used to do reviews on the medical side back in the day.
Sure.
I'd go to the dispensaries and I would do full-on reviews from the facility to how I was treated to the product at the end, the whole customer experience. I keep telling people that from the moment you walk in the door to the moment that customer goes home and uses that product, you want them to have a great time from each of those times. And if you can mark off majority of those check marks, you'll be fine. You'll do great. But some of these places, they'll mark off maybe one, maybe two, like, okay, the customer service is good, but man, that product was, and they kept telling me it was good, and I knew it wasn't. It's not what I wanted.
Gaslit.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, they kept doing that. So it goes down to a lot of things. Yeah, and I see having the open market do great things, but we can't also sit here and give people handouts and freebies and handicaps just because they feel they should be successful just because they're here. You need to work for it. You need to fight for it. You need to be out there in the community. The community needs to know that you're good for the community because in New Mexico, we're very, very, we don't like outsiders. And I've noticed Washington's kind of like that too. Like here though, we hate outsiders. Like if a business is from out of state and someone finds out, they're usually like, I don't know, man. But if they have good product, they'll forgive them. If they have good customer service, they'll forgive them. And we've seen that all over the place. Top Crop came down here from Oregon. They're here in New Mexico. They're number one sales in the state. And they're down in Sunland Park. By the way, you guys need to come down and check out Sunland Park sometime, man. I'll show you guys around. I'll take you to all the cool spots. It's wild down there.
Nice.
because it's just a little tiny part of New Mexico, and El Paso's like a rock throw away. So all the Texans just flood into that area, dude. It's wild. That's where Cookies went, the second store. So yeah, if you guys are ever here, I'll take you down there.
My brother's in El Paso. I definitely have to get down. Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude, go visit him. I'll show you around. I'm from 30, 40 minutes away, so it's really close.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, maybe you can stay with him. There you go.
But you're right though. I mean, like we are a long way from sitting on a dude's couch and having to hear his story about like shit and smoking joints with some dude personally just before you can walk away with your little eighth. Yeah, right, or whatever it is you bought. Like now you have to think about a store environment and the experience. Like that's shit that no one ever really thinks about before.
No, 100%. And some people will tell me, well, real connoisseurs don't give a shit about the packaging. I'm like, real connoisseurs are in the minority. The regular customer loves great packaging, and some of these people collect it. I've run into so many people that collect the packaging here in New Mexico, like from Oleo. They have like these little dab tools that come with it. It's like a little metal one, and people collect them because they're
different. Oleum down there?
Yeah, we have Oleo down here. Yeah,
they're for Oleo. Okay,
there's Oleo. Company, sorry,
no, you're good. There's a company out here called Oleum, and the same thing that created a process of just extractions and killing it. Like I ran into him in a bar one night, and he gave me a ride in his little Beamer. He's all, yeah, this is all. He was loving the market because that's the thing. You got to find a niche. And you can do well with it.
You can. And you know what, I will give a shout out to some of the legacy producers. One of them gave me a call the other day, and shout out to him for doing that. He's actually the mayor of Grants, New Mexico. So he's the most cannabis friendly mayor of America. This is what we like to call him. But yeah, he owns a dispensary here. I got a call from him and a couple other people recently, kind of asking, well, what do we need to do to change things? Like, how can we change? And, so I gave him some great tips and, how can we survive? Because, some people are seeing that, okay, we're a legacy producer, but that doesn't mean that we have to be here or we're going to be here or they're going to help us be here. We have to want to be here and we have to fight for it. Because I look at some of these places' sales and I know some of the places that are, shutting down and everything. And they haven't changed, and they're the same people, and the patients remember how they treated them, and who fought against us, and the patients don't want to shop there if that's the case.
100%.
And they tell their friends, et cetera, and then they don't have good quality weed, same thing. So it's many things that go into it. I'm sure I could sit here all day and name every single one, but the ones that we talked about, if places could just check those marks, they'll do so much better in the industry here. And we have so many great micro grows here too. It's not just corporate cannabis in New Mexico. We have a bunch of great mom and pops,
Oh no, every weed I smoked down there when it was New Mexico weed, it was good shit, dude. Like you guys had good quality. And I think the fair market encourages that. It pushes that, right? If you don't have good weed, why even try? Yeah. Right. Like when people come out of state, you better have good weed. Like, and that's why I don't get when people like jump into this business. Like Tom and I are about to have a store, which is, I'd rather be a store than a grower because I don't have a green thumb. Yeah. Like I know what good weed is. I can smoke the shit out of it, but I tried growing a little bit and it doesn't work out well for me. Though I do enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love growing weed. I've been growing weed for like 12 years. I love it. I have my own little cultivar I've been growing called Alamo Cheese. Super yummy. If you're ever in town, I'll let you try it. I'll try to keep growing that and get it out there. But yeah, it's just one of those things that, even as a non-grower, you still know what good weed is. You don't have to be a grower or some crazy connoisseur to smell it, to smoke it, and to try it and be like, that was some good shit. And, if it's good stuff, you're most likely going to have a great time. Like you're going to have a great time and you're going to be medicated as shit, Well,
I'm not a rancher, but I can tell you what a good steak is, right?
Exactly.
I want some grass-fed, open range.
Yeah.
Wagyu.
So this is good. Look at the marbling on that. Oh yeah. Like totally.
That cow had a good life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was a good life. Thank you. So, to me, I wanted to talk about this, especially for the New Mexicans watching. We really shouldn't be pushing for closing licenses because, like Miggy said, we don't know when they're going to reopen them. If we close Pandora's box, how do we open it again when we need it? Because closing licenses is intended to get people out of the industry. It's not intended to save people, and the people that are left over kind of creates a small monopoly. Is that kind of like what you're seeing too in the states that close licenses? Does it kind of create a mini monopoly?
That's exactly what's happening out here. And then our social equity is a shit show already. because they're trying to do another round. I tried applying. Actually, when Tom and I won the license in Illinois, I don't qualify in Washington State because I make too much money. Like no shit, right? Like I don't qualify in my own fucking state. Got the arrest. I lived in a borderline good area for Washington State, but in the Illinois maps, I qualify.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, let's give it a try.
Yeah.
But in Washington State, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely, and you know, the other thing too is like before medical or before recreational, rather, when I was medical, we had more events.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot more social gatherings for patients and products and things. And then when you get the fun police involved, you know, everybody wants to do things by the right rules, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's no fun when you get to hide like an event or a thing for consumption, or just say, hey, we're not a consumption event, wink, wink, wink. I mean, that's just dumb shit that we're still living in the days where you walk into a bong shop, you're like, hey, can I get a water pipe? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, so long those days here anyway. But yeah, you know, still some places I go and I'm like, shit, I gotta call the water pipe here.
Yeah,
like when I was in Hawaii, you know.
Oh my god, seriously?
Yeah, I was in Hawaii. I had to call it a water pipe. Yeah,
fucking nuts, dude. But there's like these barriers that we have to wink, nod, and we shouldn't. And so like here in Washington, we retrograded, and but our weed's pretty good quality. Our taxes is what's killing everybody. But as far as like really calling out like people losing, there's people who have lost because they weren't able to pivot or they had big plans right away. Like, oh, like you said, I'm in the market. I should obviously be successful, but what's your plan?
Yeah.
You're going to grow that good weed, or I told you in the last one we were talking about that guy I know who runs Legit. He started off with just pre-rolls. Like he was the grower, then he would infuse his own flower. So that's the chain of command, right? He understood where his costs were, his bottom line for this one product. So, you know, a lot of people just jump into shit without thinking of things. And
yeah. And then, you know, here in New Mexico right now, we have the race to the bottom going on. I'm sure every state's gone through that. You know, we're going through growing pains. We're barely going into year 3. You know, year 5 is really when a state hits like the stabilization of their market. You know, it starts to stabilize more. And we're barely there. And people are, you know, screaming certain things. I'm like, guys, we're not even stabilized yet. Give us some time. You know, we're still figuring this out. We're not even done, you know, adding laws and changing things. Because, you know,
seriously,
I think down the pipe for New Mexico, we're going to add like a licensing. I want to say allowing licenses to be at events and have sales at events and consumption at events. Because we're already doing it here and it happens at legal events and shit. And they're trying to crack down on it. But the state and the legislature does understand that this probably should happen. You know, we should be out of the basement. You know, like I didn't try to legalize cannabis just because I want to sit at home with my friends. No, I want to socialize too. You know, just because I smoke cannabis doesn't mean I should be forced to be at home. You know, people that drink alcohol and act like an idiot get as many spots and places around America as I can think. I can go to the theater and get tanked, you know, like, it's a little ridiculous.
Well, it's frustrating because, like, you know, for me, I'm pointing to the past. I'm like, look, we used to do this. And then you could also go to like for point to the present, go to like California. Well, now they're selling weed at the fucking fair, right? Like that was a thing that happened. Did anybody die? No.
Nope.
Like things. There's this barrier. It's like a fog, right? Like people are like, oh, it's easier to say no when it comes to something than just let it grow and prosper. And then that, like you're saying, like with limited license stuff, in Washington State, the barrier is, and it's the same thing with Illinois as we're trying to get into the business there. $1.5 million. That's what you need, right? That's messed up.
That's
whereas,
up.
And if you're in an unlimited license like yours per se, right? All I need to apply for a license. Now I can get like a small loan or something. And do I want to be a store? Do I want to be a grow? You know, create that plan. But you also should look at the fucking market. You should see what's doing good and not just jump in and be like, yo, I'm going to do all right.
Yeah. And to be honest, you know, New Mexico's been great with the transparency because we can look at every single store sale in New Mexico. We can look at how many transactions were done. Like I'll have to send you the CCD website after this. So you can look at it, dude. It's crazy. Like you can look at what city has the best sales or what their sales are, what store, what their sales are. And they have like a little mark on how every month. And so it's like, it's crazy.
Does it have ownership?
Yes.
Like all the way back to, like I was saying here in Washington, where this one guy is buying out these other licenses, but there's no disclosure. Like not everybody knows that this one guy owns now the 5 brands.
Yeah. Well,
right?
to be honest, one thing I tell people too is, since we're such an open market, that keeps people honest. Because when you're a closed
Yes.
market, you have to work behind closed doors in this. Because we had closed licenses before, and I've said this before, and people still got in. Corporations still got in through a management company loophole. Like they're
Damn.
still going to get in, and they're going to get in the most shady way possible. At least this keeps everybody honest. It's like, yeah, I'm a corporate company,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm
Well,
not
and it's
hiding it. I don't
fair.
have to. Yeah, it's fair. It is 100%. It's not like we're asking too much. It's the people that are afraid of losing, they are failing, or they're about to fail, are the ones that are really complaining. Because when I look at these articles, I'm like, what are you guys talking about? And some of the people that complain, I look at their sales, I'm like, you make $90,000 a month. The average in the state's 30. Like, you're doing better than most of the people in the state by a lot. Like, what is going on here? Like, you can't
Agreed.
blame oversaturation at that point.
But I think a lot of times, like with the store, like for us, when just to get to a profitable point, like I don't see myself quit my day job like anytime soon. Which fuck, but it's like, all right, a year, maybe another year, even after we open the store, right? Like this thing is gonna have to we build a team, get things going on that, and then hopefully the profits happen because we're gonna have to get people who are just as hungry as I am, right? Like their success is gonna be my success, and then, but like the whole business side of things, like it was so much easier when I just sold a quarter pound, broke it up, be like, all right, I made $100 profit or whatever.
Yeah,
but tax free.
Yeah, exactly, tax free. you don't have the whole IRS thing to deal with. Yeah.
But also, you're not a store. You have to go out and hustle. You're always looking over your shoulder. There's things that like your guys' fair market, man. Like if I wanted to move to Mexico, like you said too, you guys are so poor. Like nothing on the state, just kind of been in the politics, right? Like it's just how it's been.
Yeah.
But there's so much potential for you guys because it's so beautiful there to be a tourist place, to be an attraction. The only problem is that those border patrol stops, right? Like we can just not get people's asses puckered and crossing the whole federal thing. Like that sucks, but and they do take your guys' shit, right? Like they do.
We lost about maybe $150,000, almost $200,000, maybe that's probably too high, of taxes lost from losing cannabis to them. It's probably about $800,000 worth of product that we've lost to them since February. And that's lost in tax revenue. And to be honest, it's a disconnect between the federal government, the state government, and the producers, because the producers that are transporting it aren't doing it correctly to the state law. So that's another thing. So the state law can't even come in and be like, well, they were following the state law. And in the state law, it tells them essentially that it shouldn't be detectable. So meaning if a dog can't smell it and the agent can't detect it, you're fine. And they shouldn't be able to detect it in the first place. So they're not following the law too. So that's another disconnect. But we've always dealt with the Border Patrol. I've been searched by the Border Patrol before. I didn't have any cannabis at the time, but they threw the dog in my car. They made a freaking mess, and they're being assholes and questioning me, asking me if I was in the military, and I was like, I have a fucking beard. Are you kidding me? So yeah, I mean, some dudes are taking have beers, but at the time,
I got a business idea for you. Take it back old school. So like I used to live in Arizona.
Yeah.
I knew cats that would before Arizona became rec or even medical when I used to live out there. And I knew they used to magically find hundreds of pounds in the middle of the desert all the time, right? Of weed. Yeah. They never found 100 pounds of cocaine or anything else. It was always fucking weed.
Yeah.
And I knew a cat whose neighbors, they were doing the night runs where they dressed in the ATVs, with the gear. So because, all the thatches and shit out there, they're running through. That's what you need. Just get your homeboys, put it on their backpack, and then avoid the Border Patrol. Just take it back old school,
Some places decided to do that, but you actually get more.
Really?
You get into more trouble when you evade the border check. It gets even worse. Then you run into the RICO shit, and it becomes a big old thing. Yeah, so it's because a lot of places wanted to go. They're talking about drones and all kinds of other shit. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's scary. I was like, now we're talking FAA, guys. That's scary.
I mean, I guess it is illegal. I mean, you're evading the federal stop. So
yeah, it's like
it's a lose-lose.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to do that. Don't make the industry look bad, please. It's already bad enough that we're getting seized like that. So and that's not helping people either. The fact that some people are afraid to get their product up north. Or some people are afraid to even bring it back down because if something happens and there's a recall, they got to get it back up, and if they don't bring it back, it's a loss. It's already a loss, but And then there is stuff in place with the CCD that if you get your stuff seized, you are supposed to let them know. There are channels and stuff that, whatever, and they're not going to blame you, like,
Yeah.
it's a federal thing. They can't do shit about it. But you do have to let the state know. It's unfortunate that we deal with that. And I've been dealing with the border checks my whole freaking life, dude. Alamogordo, the city where I'm from, there's 2 border checks there, but here in Cruces, there's like 4. No matter what direction you go to, you're going to hit a border check. Because this is the only borderplex in the nation, like the El Paso area. So that's the reason why. It's just a little bit different here, I guess. And so it's another reason why we have issues. So it can't just be oversaturation. There's so much going on in our state, and many things that need to be fixed. And to be honest, it's not all just law stuff or regulation. Some of it is the owner. Some of it is the managers. It's not just the state that messed up. Some of the people just had no clue what they were doing.
And again, you're a business. You should fail or succeed just like any other alcohol, apples, whatever it is.
Yeah. That's the fair market, and at the end of the day, we weren't going to be able to save anybody. And at the end of the day, we all knew that legacy producers and new producers, some were going to get in it and some were going to fail and some are going to get out. And that's what we're seeing right now. And right now we're just seeing the great closure happen here in New Mexico. We're starting to see more shops close down. We're at 600 something shops. So we're not even close to Washington or anything on the numbers of shops. We only have 2 million people, but again, we're catering to Texas. And those numbers are still going down. Those shop numbers are going down and everything. So, and the other issue is that there's a bunch of people that bought licenses. There's over 1,000 something licenses. But when we closed liquor licenses here in New Mexico, those liquor licenses went to $100,000 to a couple million sometimes because there was no other license. And the only way you can get it is if you bought it from somebody. And so what they're doing is they're sitting on these licenses waiting for the state to close it because they have a feeling it's going to happen. And they're going to do the same thing over again. Even today, some of those licenses will go for tens of thousands of dollars, whatever, for the liquor ones, because they're still a little weird about it. They did change the law, but it's you can see it in the numbers, the number of active dispensaries, the number of licenses out there. It's like there's people waiting on this, guys. Like, let's not do that to the New Mexicans. No. There's still New Mexicans trying to get into the industry. They're just trying to save up funds too. So we kind of screw our locals when we do that. We only allow the big guys to thrive because as we see, the big guys are invincible.
No, but look at Oklahoma. I had a homeboy who went out there right in the beginning, and in the beginning they had a 3-year residency requirement. And then I think right at the 2-year 9-month point, they fucking pulled it back on my guy that was trying to get a license because he wanted to get a license to grow out there too, or be a store. Yeah. So he right there at that point. But now they're at the point where they're same thing where it's hella expensive to get in if you wanted to. I don't know what kind of markets in Oklahoma, but like you guys get do you think there's any stuff being smuggled to Mexico, let alone Texas?
There is actually. So there's an issue that we have right now where a lot of dispensaries, because they're afraid or whatever, and they can't make money. And to be honest, 280E doesn't help anybody either. 280E is a motherfucker. And in New Mexico, the only people that pay 280E are the dispensaries because that's the only time that we tax cannabis.
Okay.
So some of these guys are backdooring pounds to either cartel members or people that just want pounds into Mexico because now it's reversed. Huh. Now they're taking our good cannabis here and taking it to Mexico because they can make a profit there off of it because it's better quality.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is an issue with that. Now there is some federal entities that are aware about it. I don't know how that crackdown is going to happen, but if you're watching this and you're one of those entities, they know about it. If I know about it, the federal government knows about it. And if I know the federal government knows about what you're doing, more people know about what you're doing. So just stop what you're doing and maybe start doing it right. Because there is a lot of people in the industry that just aren't doing the right thing, and that's the other issue too that we have, is we have these people that aren't doing the right thing. And then the crackdown isn't really happening right away on some of them, or they're not getting shut down at all, or it happens months later after the crime was done, when the damage is already there. So, I'm sure you and I can go on for fucking months, with all this stuff too. So, but yeah, I know you're at work, man, and I don't want to take all your day. We're almost here for an hour and a half. I just noticed that.
Yeah.
But, I got all my points across. If you have anything before we end the show today, go ahead and say it now.
No, it's a good talk, dude. I really think that New Mexico did it right. I really hope you don't cap your licenses because, for me, legalization is about fairness and opportunity, right? And, you guys, I mean, hell, the fact that they're smuggling stuff to Mexico, we already have a missed opportunity for the revenue that can happen for Texas alone, let alone you. But we're evolving. We'll be changing, and until we come perfect, you should check us out at Cannabis Legalization News, because that's
Heck yeah.
we're covering the policy. We're just that and culture.
Yeah.
To me, and I think eventually, kind of like the cannabis and the hemp baby are going to make. The cannabis culture is just American culture. It's just like it's okay for your go to a bar after work. You go to a dab bar or something. That'll be
Yeah.
a new norm.
Yeah, I can go to the consumption lounge right now and go take a couple of dabs if I want. I
Hell yeah.
might go check out Monster House today here in Las Cruces. Shameless plug there, but also thank you to Cinder Cannabis as well and Cannabis Legalization News. And Miggy, before you go, where can people find you real life and online?
Miggy 420 is the just Google me. You'll find all these articles that I've written. I've been deleted several times, so Miggy 420 lives is my Instagram and my Twitch and the it's not my Facebook, just Miggy 420. I think it's my Facebook. But anyways, but Cannabis Legalization News, the website, the YouTube channel, podcast, wherever your podcasts are at. But the YouTube channel gets the extra drops, right? Because like not everything gets extracted. This whole thing's a process, right? Once you do a recording, do you have the bandwidth to like now do the extraction for every fucking video or everything? Yeah. But it's content, and like I said, I've been doing this for like just a little bit, mostly about the writing side of things. Now focusing on the YouTubes. So yeah, join us.
100%. Yeah, join and watch them. What on my episode, joining him is on there, so go ahead and check that out if you guys want to see it. I watch them all the time too, and I appreciate again what you guys do, man. It's beneficial to all of us. Like I said, us in the cannabis media, we all need to work together a little bit more and get this thing going, because I think what you guys are doing is a great thing.
Thanks, man.
I appreciate it. Well, anyways, everybody, I'll see y'all next week. Make sure you like, subscribe, whatever you got to do to stay in the know, especially if you're here in New Mexico. So I will see you guys next week with another episode of #Grassy Logic. All right, shoots.